Hello, hello, hello! It's me again for some more Gun in 60 Seconds Fun Times, the extra bit of this little series that goes on where I get to talk a bit more in depth about the actual gun itself. I don't want to waste too much of your time because I think, again, this is one of those guns that's quite straightforward and it is quite frustrating, if I'm honest. I was actually quite looking forward to this gun. I know quite a few people enjoy using this weapon, but for me, I just found it very inconsistent and very frustrating to use a lot of the time. It is a semi-automatic shotgun. The fact that you can spam the weapon is obviously a big benefit, but I just found the damage to be too inconsistent, and I knew it wasn't going to have a huge amount of range going into using the weapon, but I just found a lot of the time it was really inconsistent at that range. Like, you might be getting hit markers at a far range, but it's just not enough to actually put someone down, which was a real hindrance, if I'm being honest with you, for a lot of the action that I had playing with this weapon. At close range, if you are pretty accurate with your shots, you get some good connections. Usually you'll find it's a two-shot kill. If you're literally in their face, you'll find you'll get a one-shot kill. If you're at a slightly extended distance, which is still considered close range, you're probably looking at 3. Anything past that, you could be going up to 4 or 5, depending on how far away they are. But it does, I guess, the thing is, it has a lot of range to it. You will hit people at quite a distance compared to most shotguns. But it's not going to do much damage at all, and I think that's the big thing, is although you're getting hit markers, that doesn't necessarily mean you're getting a lot of damage off, if that makes sense. So this class is all about making the most of what you've got available to you and maximizing its damage, because of that lack of consistency in damage, I kind of got lazy with this weapon. I felt like there were some really cool ways to set up with a weapon like this. It filled me with a lot of promise. I tried out quite a few classes, and there were moments where it succeeded and moments where it absolutely failed. And I think that's a lot of it is due to this game in general and the fact that it's hard to get by against some of the weapons. And I think the connections and the engine and stuff like that don't really help this weapon at all. So you will find you do struggle at certain moments just because of how important your range advantage is in this game. So weapons like this, although it might be a very viable weapon in some Call of Duties, it's not the best weapon in this. And it is pretty good on some maps, but some of those maps where shotguns really shine just aren't present in this game, which is even harder. So I guess I'm going to get straight into talking a little bit more nitty-gritty about it. The Expeditionary class, for me, is the way to go, just because of the incendiary shells and the little bits and pieces you get with that division. Just makes it head and shoulders above the rest. I was really hoping airborne would be a viable tactic, but I just found the gun was too inconsistent in general for what you were getting for it. And the reason I want to go with the airborne class is, you know, for that extra sprint speed, being able to get close and personal with people much faster and closing that gap a lot quicker. Half the time I just found I got caught out at that kind of medium distance where something like a combat shotgun might actually fare up pretty well. This gun just didn't have the range to compete with those weapons like the BAR, FG42, STG, and basically any gun that could be used at a medium range. So I was getting frustrated with this weapon. Even though those classes might work on maps like Saint-Mer-du-Mont or Winter Carentan, they weren't necessarily working on a lot of the other ones. So it just got really frustrating for me to use. So I always went with the Expeditionary. You could use Mountain as well. Just the fact that you'll be hidden from all sorts of kill streaks and UAVs and silent movement is always a benefit. You could actually even use the Resistance division, which is one of those that I would say is pretty underrated for a gun like this. Just the fact that the minimap becomes completely blocked for enemies. They might know around the rough area you're sitting, but if you're playing on a map like Saint-Mer-du-Mont and you're sitting in the building, you know that you're probably going to be in there with a shotgun, but it just kind of gives you that element of surprise, and like around that area there's lots of little corners you could be sitting in, so no one's really going to know exactly where you are. And if the other team have got a lot of UAVs in the air, it's just a little bit better for you to be able to hide. And the fact that, you know, Mountain only properly works if you're moving around, which I don't really actually recommend with this gun in this class, if I'm honest with you. So this class is literally just all about maximizing your damage and your range as best as you possibly can. And Expeditionary does that for you. As far as the attachments, Reflex Sight, not useful at all. Quick Draw, not useful at all. I'm not even going to bother touching on those for obvious reasons. Steady Aim is very useful, just the fact that your spread of shots becomes a lot tighter. So obviously that range gets extended in the sense that more shots are going to be hitting the person rather than going off out past them. Extended mags is very useful. Again, there's only 6 shots per magazine. So if you're someone who gets a bit trigger happy, obviously it's very good to have extended mags. Advanced rifling's great. It just extends the damage at that range, so the drop-off isn't as drastic. And rapid fire is useful. Maybe not necessary, but I find that if you can get those shots off and you need to spam against multiple people, it's very much worth it, because if you might see someone, you might get the shots off first, but knowing this game, you're probably still going to die first. So rapid fire helps overcome that aspect. Then as far as basic training goes, I tried flanker out. I thought that'd be a really good perk for this class, but it didn't work out as much as I wanted to. There were occasions where I managed to get around the map on some of the bigger ones where flanks were a little bit easier, and it actually proved to be a very viable basic training. But in the end, I ended up just going with what did I ended up going with? I don't even remember. Primed was what I went with, just for that extra attachment, so I could have rapid fire, advanced rifling, and steady aim. It was, you could argue it's a bit overkill. Maybe it doesn't need that many attachments. Maybe it doesn't need that much damage, but I guess it might be a bit of frustration and laziness. I just ended up using as much as I possibly could to make this gun as strong as possible. Gunslinger's decent. Rifleman's decent. If you find that this gun is only going to do so well at close range, you want something with distance. Hustle could be okay. That quick reload off, it negates almost the reason to use rapid fire. Requisitions, if you're finding you're not having a great time with this gun, maybe just making sure even if you die, you can keep your streaks going and alive. Hopefully up that KD a bit. And energetics, obviously a nice one if you're not running the airborne class. Anyway, this gun, it can be fun at times. It's a little bit frustrating and inconsistent, which really annoys me. I'd probably stick to using a combat shotgun. I just think, again, there are better shotguns in the class, in the whole category itself, rather than this one, which is why I wouldn't necessarily recommend using it. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, do drop a like rating. Make sure you subscribe if you're new around here, and I'll see you later. Peace out.